Welcome, little listeners, to tonight's bedtime story on our magical podcast, where dreams take flight and adventures are as big as your imagination. Today we've got a tale about basketball, family secrets and making smart choices. Have you ever wondered why grown-ups sometimes have special rules that seem a bit silly? Well, in today's story, we'll meet James, who thought the same thing. Until one day, when those silly rules turned out to be pretty amazing. Grab your favourite snack, find your comfy spot, and let's discover how James's family came up with a super clever way to stay safe. James sat at the kitchen table one morning, sharing his cereal with his little sister Emma. They were playing their usual game of making up passwords while Mom packed their lunchboxes and Dad read the news. "Secret agent power," Emma declared, swinging her legs under the table. "Dragon Mountain," James responded, carefully arranging his cornflakes into a smiley face. Mom and Dad exchanged meaningful glances across the kitchen table. Dad put down his tablet and cleared his throat. "Hey kids, speaking of passwords, Mom and I want to talk to you about something important." James looked up from his cereal, curious. At 8 years old, he could tell when his parents had something serious to discuss. "We want to create a special family password," Mom explained, sitting down with them. "It's going to be different from your fun morning passwords. This one is going to help keep you safe." Emma tilted her head. "How can a password keep us safe?" Dad leaned forward. "Well, sometimes plans change unexpectedly. Maybe one day, Mum or I might need to send someone else to pick you up from school. If that happens, that person needs to know our special family password. If they don't know it, you shouldn't go with them, even if they seem really nice." James thought about this. "But what if it's someone we know?" "That's a great question," Mum said. "Even if it's someone we know, they still need the password if we didn't tell you ahead of time they were picking you up. It's like a secret code between our family." "Can we pick the password?" Emma asked eagerly. "Of course," Dad smiled. "But it needs to be something we can all remember easily and something other people wouldn't guess." James looked around the kitchen for inspiration. His eyes landed on his favourite winter hat hanging by the door, the one with the penguin pattern his grandmother had knitted for him last Christmas. "How about purple penguin?" he suggested. "Because of my hat, and purple is Emma's favourite colour." "That's perfect," Mum agreed. Easy to remember, but not something anyone would guess. Over the next few weeks, they practiced using the password in different situations. Dad would pretend to be various people who might need to pick up the kids. Sometimes he'd be a family friend, sometimes a neighbour, or even a teacher. "Hi there, your mum called me because she has a dentist appointment. I'm here to take you home," Dad would say in his regular voice. "What's our family password?" James would ask. "Is it Blue Dolphin?" "Nope, sorry, I have to stay here," James would respond confidently. They practiced at different times and places, during dinner, while driving to school, or walking the dog. Mom explained that it wasn't just about remembering the password. It was about being brave enough to ask for it. "Sometimes people might try to convince you it's okay to go with them," she explained. "They might know your name, or our names, or even where we work. But if they don't know the password, the answer is always no." James started playing basketball after school that year. He loved everything about it: the squeak of sneakers on the gym floor, the satisfying swish of a perfect shot, and especially Coach Mike's encouraging words. Mum always picked him up at 4:30, right after Emma's dance class at the community centre next door. After practice, most kids would leave, and James would sit on the gym steps, reading his book or practicing his times tables while waiting for Mum. One Wednesday afternoon in October, James was sitting in his usual spot. The autumn sun slanted through the high gym windows, creating long shadows on the floor. Most of his teammates had already left. A woman James had never seen before walked into the gym. She wore casual clothes and had a lanyard with keys around her neck, looking like she belonged at the community centre. She smiled warmly as she approached him. "You must be James," she said kindly. "I'm Sarah. I work with Emma's dance teacher. Your mom called because there's been a big accident on Main Street and she's stuck in traffic. She asked me to take you and Emma home." James felt his stomach tighten. The woman seemed nice enough, and she knew about Emma's dance class. She even had a badge, though he couldn't quite read what it said. "Emma's already in my car," the woman continued, gesturing toward the parking lot. "We should get going before the traffic gets worse." Then James remembered all those practice sessions with his family. He heard Mum's voice in his head. "Always ask for the password, no matter what. Even if they seem nice, even if they know our names." Taking a deep breath, James asked politely, "Do you know our family password?" The woman's friendly smile faltered slightly. "Password? Oh, your mum was in such a hurry, she probably forgot to mention it. But look, she's really worried about being late, and Emma's waiting." James felt his heart beating faster, but he remembered what Dad had said. If they make excuses about the password, that's a red flag. Coach Mike was still in the gym, sorting equipment nearby. James stood up, gripping his backpack straps. "I need to check with my coach," he said firmly. The woman's smile disappeared completely. "There's no need to bother your coach. Your mum specifically asked me to." But James was already walking toward Coach Mike. He could hear the woman saying something else, but he kept walking. As he reached Coach Mike, he heard quick footsteps leaving the gym. Coach Mike listened carefully as James explained what happened. He immediately called Mom, who was just parking her car outside, right on time, as usual. There hadn't been any accident, and Emma was exactly where she was supposed to be, in her dance class next door. That evening, Dad ordered pizza to celebrate James's smart thinking. As they sat around the kitchen table, with strings of melted cheese stretching from their slices, they talked about what happened. "You know what really helped me?" James said, reaching for another slice. "All those times we practiced. It didn't feel weird asking for the password because we'd done it so many times before." "Exactly," Mum smiled. "Practice makes things easier when it really matters. I'm so proud of how you handled everything, James." "But you know what else you did right?" Dad added. "You trusted your feelings. Even though that woman seemed nice and knew some details about our family, you felt something wasn't quite right. That's your inner alarm system working." James thought about that. Yeah, it felt weird that she said Emma was in the car. "That's right," Mum agreed. "You used the password system and you paid attention to other things that seemed strange. That's exactly what we want you to do." Later that night, as James got ready for bed, he felt pretty good about himself. He wasn't scared about what had happened. Instead, he felt stronger. He knew how to handle tricky situations, and he had people he could trust to help him. "Hey, Dad," he called as his father walked past his bedroom. "Can we practice some more password situations this weekend? Maybe we could help Emma practice too." Dad smiled from the doorway. "That's a great idea. Maybe we can even come up with some new scenarios." James grinned and snuggled under his covers, his penguin hat sitting on the bedpost nearby. Being safe didn't mean being scared. Sometimes it just meant being prepared, like practicing your basketball shots or memorizing multiplication tables. And with the purple penguin as their family password, He knew he and Emma would always have a way to stay safe. And there you have it, friends. Wasn't it cool how James's family turned safety into a fun game? Sometimes the best ways to stay safe are also the most fun to practice. Here's a fun activity for after the story. Try creating your own special family password. It could be something that makes you laugh, something from your favorite memory, or even something totally random, as long as it's your family's special secret. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, don't forget to share the story with your friends and subscribe to our magical podcast. As the story ends and the children close their eyes, they enter a world where anything is possible, and then they dreamed.